Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today we are globe-trotting to uncover some serious engineering anomalies. We are talking about ancient structures that absolutely shatter our conventional timeline of history. We're going to look at massive monolithic sites that force us to ask a really difficult question. How on earth did ancient cultures achieve a scale and precision that would push our modern heavy machinery to its absolute limits? It's wild to think about. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our itinerary. We're tracking an impossible architectural thread spanning right across the globe. We'll be looking at extreme precision, impossible logistics, perfect geometry, a totally fascinating modern enigma, and finally cosmic connections. So, Destination 1, Extreme Precision. We're heading straight up into the high Andes of Bolivia to check out our first awe-inspiring mystery, the ancient ruins of Pumapunku. I want you to imagine the sheer logistical nightmare of building anything at an altitude of nearly 13,000 feet. Seriously, you are thousands of meters above sea level. There are no trees growing up there to use as wooden rollers. It's just sparse grass and bushes. And yet, right here on this desert plateau, you have these megalithic granite and diorite blocks, some of them weighing upwards of 100 tons, just scattered everywhere. It literally looks like massive children's toys tossed about by some kind of giant cataclysm. So, the big questions: who built this and when? Well, the perspectives on this are drastically different. Mainstream archaeology suggests the local Aymara people built it roughly 2,000 years ago using primitive stone tools. But on the flip side, researchers like Arthur Poznansky used archaeoastronomy to push that date way back, like 17,000 years ago. Meanwhile, ancient astronaut theorists argue that this kind of intricate, interlocking stonework absolutely demands advanced precision technology. And this brilliantly illustrates why those alternative theories even exist in the first place. Consider the observation from author David Childress. He points out that the surfaces of these diamond-hard diorite blocks are as smooth as a tabletop. This was machined. We aren't just looking at heavy rocks here. We're looking at laser-perfect right angles and evenly spaced drill holes that totally baffle modern stonecutters. If the only natural stone harder than diorite is a diamond, how exactly do you carve it without diamond-tipped power tools? It's a huge puzzle. Because the physical methods completely defy explanation, the theories tend to get a little wild. Some folks suggest the stones were actually cast in concrete molds, kind of similar to Frank Lloyd Wright's 1920s textile blockhouses. Others point to ancient Incan legends of literally softening or melting the stone. But honestly, the most fascinating puzzle piece comes from the local Aymara people themselves. They flat out claim they didn't build it. They say los dioses, the gods, built the entire site in a single night, almost like an otherworldly base camp. So you have to wonder, were these incredibly advanced techniques just lost to time, or were they simply taken away? Okay, leaving South America behind, Destination 2 brings us to the realm of impossible logistics. We are heading to the Salisbury Plain in England to look at the world's most famous megalithic time capsule. Of course, we're talking about Stonehenge. But here's the thing, it wasn't just built overnight. Its construction happened in massive phases that spanned thousands of years. It actually started over 10,000 years ago with these massive wooden posts, which was then followed by a great earthen henge around 3200 to 3400 BC. But the real logistical nightmare? That kicks in during the later phases when they started importing the famous blue stones, and then finally culminating in those colossal sarsen stones we all recognize today. The physical impossibility here is just staggering. Those blue stones, they were hauled from the Preseli Mountains in Wales. That is over 100 miles away. Mainstream science suggests prehistoric people dragged them on rollers and tree trunks, but modern teams attempting to replicate this across the rivers and valleys have pretty much failed miserably. And, when conventional physics falls short, that's exactly when myth steps in. The Arthurian legend claims the magician Merlin literally levitated the stones from Ireland with his bare hands. It really makes you wonder, what kind of lost technology might just look like magic to the untrained eye? Moving right along, let's journey to Destination 3, Perfect Geometry. We are leaving the fields of England behind and plunging deep into the jungles of Costa Rica to uncover our next architectural mystery. Discovered while crews were clearing the jungle back in the 1930s, we have Las Bolas. These are over 300 monolithic stone spheres scattered all across Costa Rica. And some of these are massive. We are talking up to 10 feet in diameter, and experts believe they are up to 96% perfectly spherical, Just think about the geometry required to pull that off, carving incredibly hard igneous rock like granite and diorite into a near-perfect sphere without modern diamond tools or lasers. That is a monumental, almost unbelievable feat. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that Costa Rica isn't an isolated case. In 2004, similar stone balls were actually discovered half buried in the mountainsides of Bosnia. But the differences in their origins are super striking. The Costa Rican spheres are carved granite, believed in local myth to be the cannonballs of the thunder god. The Bosnian spheres, on the other hand, show chemical evidence of being melted down from a liquid state and poured into molds with additives. And their legends? They say they were used as intradimensional star maps or tools to concentrate thought. So you've got two vastly different locations, but remarkably similar geometric anomalies. Which leads us perfectly right into Destination 4, the modern enigma. We're pivoting now to 1920s Florida, because we have to ask a crucial question here. What if these ancient building techniques weren't entirely lost to time, after all? This brings us to the incredibly astounding story of Ed Leedskalnin and his coral castle. Ed was a frail Latvian immigrant. He was barely 5 feet tall and weighed maybe 100 pounds soaking wet. Yet he worked completely alone, strictly at night, and somehow hoisted 30-ton coral blocks to build this massive stone garden. And he did it using nothing but a makeshift wooden tripod. Even more intriguing, he openly claimed to anyone who would ask that he knew the ancient building secrets of the Egyptian pyramids. So how on earth did a 100-pound man move thousands of pounds of rock entirely by himself? Well, in a pamphlet he left behind called Magnetic Current, Ed wrote, "Real gravity is actually real magnets." He theorized that by manipulating electromagnetic frequencies, you could actually reverse magnetic forces. By doing this, he claimed you could essentially render massive rocks completely weightless. I know, it sounds straight out of science fiction, but the physical proof of his castle is literally still standing in Florida today. But the secret to how he practically applied this theory might have completely vanished with him. Old photographs of his makeshift wooden tripod actually show a mysterious black box sitting right on top of it. And right after he died, that box disappeared. Poof. So, what was inside Ed Leedskalnin's missing black box? Did this reclusive man actually achieve anti-gravity right in the 20th century, somehow replicating the lost arts of ancient megalithic builders? It is an incredible enigma. All right, for our final destination, Destination 5, Cosmic Connections. We are traveling all the way to the Mediterranean island of Malta to examine an archaeological site that is actually older than the Great Pyramids.
This is the temple complex of Hagar Kim. It was built in the mid-4th millennium BC by what is supposedly a primitive culture, but it features these colossal stone walls reaching 20 feet high. But the true marvel here is its cosmic connection. The entire massive structure is perfectly aligned astronomically, so that on the winter solstice, the sunrise shines directly through the entrance. It's breathtaking. And, just like Punapunku, the site is steeped in local legends of giant extraterrestrial builders who possessed an unimaginable knowledge of the stars.
The mysteries just continue inside the temple itself. Within Hagar Kamem, there lies this strange carved oval chamber known as the Oracle Room. Researchers stepping inside have actually noted an unusually strong, localized magnetic field in there. Historically, worshippers entered this highly magnetic space to experience some really bizarre phenomena, like hearing voices and seeing flashes of light, all in an attempt to communicate directly with deities. And amazingly, this highly magnetically charged spot is exactly where the famous Venus of Malta statue was unearthed. Pretty wild, right? Which finally brings us to our ultimate question. From the high Andes to the Salisbury Plain, the dense jungles of Costa Rica, a quirky Florida castle, and the magnetic temples of Malta, are these global anomalies simply the result of isolated, wildly impressive human ingenuity? Or do they share a single, otherworldly blueprint that we are only just beginning to rediscover? It completely shifts how we view our own history, and I really hope this journey leaves you questioning just how much we actually know about our past. Thanks so much for exploring with us.